Welcome to Slice Serve, a new tennis podcast by tennis nerds for wannabe tennis nerds. This is your place to satisfy your curiosity and leave feeling just a little bit smarter and appreciative of this game that we all love. Let's get started. We are back after a long hiatus. Sorry, listeners. I know all 5 of you have been waiting for a very long time. But yeah, we're excited. We had lots of live events that got in the way, but all good things, and super happy to be here. So Raghu, how are you doing? What's been going on in your life? What's one significant tennis thing on your mind?
Yeah, so it's been for the love of a podcast has not been lost, even though there's been a break. It's been on our minds as to going back and recording, and how do you record it, how do you make it a little bit better, easier in the midst of all our busy lives. A bunch of things have changed, new job, stuff going on in our personal lives.
Yes. Well, remember,
but
this is always our first job.
that is true.
Everything else is our second job. They don't need to know that.
It's the first passion. So but what's happened is that I'm able to provide more structure to my weekdays and even some of the weekends, so I can play tennis more often now. That's been one of the best things, and I'm playing at least a couple times a week, which I'm loving it. And so the one thing that's on my mind was that I've been using Wilson rackets forever, and my rackets are like super old. They're just fine rackets, but I found that my game was not getting better. So I started digging into what rackets I have currently. Are they the right fit? And I realized they were not. I looked at all the dimensions of a racket, and there are gazillion rackets out there. And so I wouldn't just go. A younger self would just go and buy a racket that look really beautiful and is the hottest in the market. But now I just want to get more technical. And so I've been going through this process of figuring out what's the right racket for me. And it's been fascinating. And I think I'm almost down to the top 2 rackets that I'm still demoing after a whole month of trialing it. But yeah, I think I figured it out, and my game actually has improved when I was demoing those rackets. So I'm super happy.
Wow, that's fantastic. I have you to thank for inspiring me to look into that as well. So that's great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what racket you end up finally landing on. Cool. Yeah. And then as you were discussing this break that we had to take, it just reminded me, it felt like this was our podcast equivalent of a bathroom break in between sets in a slam. Yeah. So, and for me, I would say, I have kind of similar things in my mind, but I would maybe just going on a different note. I will say that Madison Keys' victory in the Australian Open actually really tugged at my heartstrings more than any other victory that I can remember, and I'm including Carlos's victory in 2022. But just all the people she beat and all the things she did to beat, and then I was listening to Roddick's podcast where he interviews her. It's really something. I almost teared up listening to some of the stuff. So yeah, I gotta say, this was a perfect Cinderella fairy tale story ending for someone who's been in this game for 15 years now almost. I think she turned pro when she was 14, if you can believe that. So, and she won her first slam at age 29. Incredible story. So anyway, I thought that was floating in my mind. I'm still going and digging up information about that particular like slam. So anyway, that was on my mind. So
Yeah, I'm second there on Madison Keys. In fact, since the first time I saw her play, she has such a good game, solid game, beautiful to watch. And I always wonder like why she wasn't winning more. I remember like I mean, this was many many years ago when my kids were a little smaller. We went to U.S. Open and we saw Madison Keys. I think on a
oh
side
yeah,
court or Armstrong,
nice.
and it was just awesome. And my kids even now remember Madison Keys. And so she kind of disappeared for many many years. Don't know what happened, but so happy for her. It's a great story, and I think
Yeah,
it's one that should inspire a lot of kids as to you just need to persevere, and just good things will happen.
exactly. Yeah, I agree. It's like a great story of like just good things come for people who wait and work hard, and then like also like a side track on the benefits of therapy. Like my wife's a therapist,
Yeah,
and she talks
yeah.
openly about how therapy helped her, and then of course like this whole like fairy tale of her husband being her coach, and he makes this little tweak, and she switches after 15 years from a Wilson to Yonex, and like all of a sudden her game is just
Hey,
off the
hey,
charts. Anyway,
hey,
I'm
there's a
waiting for that.
racket in there. So
Yes, I'm waiting
it's
for that. Waiting for those results from you, Raghu.
well, I'm already seeing successes in my own little way, and so I'm pretty happy about that. So
All right,
yeah,
all
I
right.
need to get my own Madison Keys moment.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so on that note, what do we have today, Raghu, after this big bathroom break of a podcast hiatus?
Yeah. So what I have today is fascinating to me. I wanted to talk about oldest tennis venues
All
that
right.
are still operating, and I thought this would be fascinating. Go back a little bit in the history, appreciate like how it came in, and why it's still around. I think that is for me that's fascinating. The longevity of these venues, um, and even to this day, in modern tennis still being played at some of these places. So let's jump in. And so I'm going to pose a question to you, Ravi.
Ooh,
What do you think is the oldest operating tennis venue in the world? At least gonna
gotcha.
pick the country, if even if you can get
Country
close
and
to
maybe
it.
time. Okay, I'll try to take a
Yeah,
stab at country and time. Well, I'm
yeah,
just gonna say based on our research that you and I did for the Grand Slam episode, our first one. Everybody
yeah,
should go check that one out.
yeah.
I'm going to guess, just wild guess, it's got to be United Kingdom, UK, England, whatever it was called back then. And so 1800s. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say 1780.
You're getting close, most
I
on the
am?
location, but not so much on the time.
Oh my. What?
Of
Okay.
course, you know, tennis was in the very very early days was played in parts of UK, France, as we had mentioned, and later on
Okay.
in the US.
Okay.
So the oldest still operating tennis court or club is called the Falkland Palace Royal Tennis Club.
Oh wow. That
It's
sounds
based in Fife, Scotland. Hopefully, I didn't butcher
okay.
the name.
Close. Oh, Sir Andy Murray's backyard.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go. It's the oldest tennis court still in use. Now,
Wow.
it's not the tennis court that you and I are used to, but we'll get that in a second.
Okay.
Um, it was constructed as a court for King James V of Scotland, and
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah,
What
and this was
where's
1539 was when they started it, and they finished in 1541. So it's been in
what?
operations for the last 480 plus years.
That's
Right?
madness. That's before America existed. Huh? Okay,
Five,
so this
five,
is like wow.
yeah. So it's
1539.
yeah, 1541 was when they started using it, and it's a very different
That's
kind of court. It's
amazing.
not the same that we have today, but it has not been continuous use since its creation, until but it has at least since 1975, the tennis club when it was formed, the Falkland Palace Royal Tennis Club, they try to keep the royal tennis game alive
Hmm.
there. Uh, the court actually has four walls, believe it or not. So
Oh
between the two
wow.
walls, it's a long longitudinal, like similar format in terms of like the length of the court as at current tennis courts, but it's basically the tennis, like the nets are hung to either side of the walls. So just imagine that.
So no net posts. Okay,
Yeah, there's
gotcha.
no lines effectively, like and then um, there's two of those walls actually what they call have featured penthouses. So they have houses on each side. So I guess that's where the audience can watch it. Um,
That's kind of cool.
and there are four holes, if you can just believe it, on one side of the wall, or actually on both, on either side of the net, on the walls either side of the net. They're called loons, and if you hit the ball through those holes, you get special points. And so that's sort of like you play the tennis and then you hit it into that. And so anyway, so it's kind of like a interesting twist to tennis. um, there was a like international tournament that was organized there in 1989 to just celebrate the 450th anniversary of that court.
450th anniversary. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they still play like locally organized events and matches, and I think it's kind of fun. If you're ever in Scotland as a tennis buff, you should just like swing by and take a look at this place. It's
That
called
is,
Falkland Palace Royal Tennis Club. It's just
I
fascinating
have
to
a
me.
new item on my list for sure. That's really cool. Actually, a 450-year-old tennis court. Scotland's already got the castles and stuff that I know it's been on our list of like beautiful travel places, but this is a next level, dude. So
Yeah, this is it'll be cool to actually go play. I wonder if they'll
yeah,
just allow you to, as a guest, go there and play for fun.
you know, this the setup you just described feels like some interesting mishmash of pickleball, squash, racquetball, and tennis, like that room with the walls and stuff.
It reminds me of being like a gladiator in between those four walls,
Yeah,
and then beating each other up to kind of escape that.
I can
that
imagine
court.
ATP put out this video of like which tennis player can hit the loons. Like, yeah,
It's pretty fun. It's kind
wow,
of crazy setup, and we'll try to see if we can include some photos of that in our podcast video.
yeah, that'd
But
be great.
it's
Do you
um,
do you know if this is that court as you described still operational as
yes,
is?
it is operational.
Wow,
So people still go there and play tennis. I think over time it was probably not, and then they were resurrected. But now it's, yeah, people still go and
that's
use
so
it. So
cool.
which is fascinating to me. So 1541.
The
Uh,
Falkland Palace Royal Tennis Club, you said?
yep.
It sounds like a casino in Vegas.
Don't tell to the Brits or the Scottish, I
Yeah.
guess. All right, switching over to something more mainstream. Again, I'm going to quiz you, Ravi.
Ooh,
Is
I love quizzes.
we know Wimbledon is the oldest tennis venue used by
Yeah.
ATP and WTA. Outside of those, and it was since 1877. Outside of those, outside of Wimbledon, can you come up with one or two other tournaments are the oldest venues still operating and used by professionals today?
Oh, wow.
I would
I
need to know
have,
the name of the city,
yeah, yeah,
not just the
no,
country here, and the name of the tennis tournament if you can. So,
there's just, no, dude, I have no idea. Probably my guess is, if you're talking about like narrowing down, is probably 99% in Europe somewhere, because the rest of the places probably didn't even start tennis, right? Back then, but gosh, I don't know. Somewhere in Western Europe is the closest. If I had to random guess, Austria. How about that?
you're kind of
Was I
getting
close?
close to one of the next three oldest.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
In fact, so after Wimbledon, there's U.S. Open,
Hmm.
but after we skip over those two majors, the others are, I think, on the list, and we'll get into each of those in a bit here. Um, Canadian Open,
Oh,
I think right now called
Canadian.
National Bank Open, has been
Yeah.
operating since 1881.
No, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess this is when
fascinating.
Canada was part of the UK, I guess.
1881. So
Yeah,
I
I don't know
don't
my
track
history,
back as
Canadian
to,
history.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Canadians. Sorry, Canadian listeners. Maybe you can enlighten us.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is one of the oldest ones. Then we have the Hamburg European Open that has been operating since 1892.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
Um,
Hamburg.
yeah, it's one of those oldest, on top six oldest tennis tournament. tennis venues.
Okay.
And then this one is the most fascinating to me. The Cincinnati Open, that is basically it's called the Western and Southern Open. They have been
Yeah.
operating since 1899, over
Oh, wow.
120 years old.
I wouldn't
So
have guessed that. That's
yeah,
really cool. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So
that's
we're on
part
the
of the US
list.
Open
Okay.
series.
The state.
And
Okay.
so, at least in North America, you can go to the Canadian Open, which happens in Montreal and Toronto every other year, depending on and then there's the Cincinnati Open. I always wonder, like Cincinnati Open, like why Cincinnati? Because but there's a big history there. So in Hamburg. All right, so let's get into each one of them, and so it's going to be fascinating to just share what I learned. So let's go to Canadian Open first. So it's the third oldest after Wimbledon and US Open, um, and they play, as I said, alternatively between Montreal and Toronto.
Hmm.
It hosts both the ATP and WTA at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, the
Okay.
1000
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
So this is one of the always fascinating for me because whenever they're on the Canadian Open, the best players in the world are right there.
Wait. Okay. What happened? Isn't there this Montreal and Toronto where they have like the men and the women like in different cities?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's say any given year, if the men are playing in Montreal, the women are playing in Toronto, and
Okay.
vice versa. And
Yeah.
Montreal and Toronto is not that far, so you can actually. I don't know if there's a train that operates between those two, but certainly you can go there and then go to both the tournaments, which is pretty impressive.
Hmm.
So it happens in the same week, and the men and women switch cities every year. And like a lot of the tournaments, they start off playing on the grass courts, and then they transition to clay, believe it or not. And finally, they moved to hard courts in 1979. So
Oh
that's
wow. Okay. Clay. Okay. This because they're like so distinctly part of the hardcourt swing now. It's hard to even imagine that.
yeah,
Very cool.
it's kind of weird. Like if you think about Tennis Canada, I don't know how it was back then with the clay. If they played the clay courts in August after the French was played in May, June, that seems kind of strange to me.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting. By the way,
yeah,
Montreal and Toronto are it's a 5.5 hour drive, so they are close-ish, I would say, but not that close. So I don't know. Do they happen simultaneously? I don't even remember that, or does they go
it's
back to back?
no, I think it seems like they occur on the same week.
The same.
So
Okay, okay.
yeah, so they
Hmm.
get the best players in the world, all the attention focused on Toronto and Montreal every year, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Montreal is one of my favorite cities to visit. I love the food in Toronto, so
Cool.
you know,
So
I
this
think this
Canadian
thing.
Open, it must have begun in one of the cities, I'm guessing, and then it expanded out to this other city as well to do the WTA and ATP.
Yeah, I didn't get into that as to where they started off from, but seems like it's a unique sort of setup
Uh,
where two cities relatively nearby are hosting both men and women top 1000 tournaments, 1000 series at the same time. I don't think any other place actually has something this kind of format. Um,
got
so
it.
which is so if you want to see the best players in the world in August, just go to Toronto and Montreal. I would say that's.
Nice.
So I've got a quick question for you. Who do you think sponsored these tournaments and any history there?
Which tournament?
The Canadian Open.
The Canadian one? Well, historically, I'm not sure. I know that it's called like the Rogers. One of them is called Rogers. I don't know what Rogers is, by the way. I just know that it's called Rogers. So
It's a telecom company.
Telecom. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. That's
today.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what the other one's called. I forget. So I have no idea.
Yeah, like back in the day, tobacco ruled the world of
Yes.
business.
Of course.
And
Okay.
so if you remember in 80s, 90s, the name Rothmans.
Oh yeah.
Rothmans actually was sponsoring the tournament for a long time, as well as Du Maurier.
Okay.
So they would.
Totally random, funny tidbit,
Yeah.
unrelated to anything. I grew up reading Time magazine in the 80s because my dad used to visit the States back when I wasn't there. So I would just flip the pages, and the two things that would stick out to me in the ads cars, and cigarettes. So I know all these brands like Rothmans and Marlboro and Virginia Slims. And as a kid in South India, this is the most absurd thing. It just reminded me
Yeah.
of that. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, and then the Canadians came down hard on tobacco companies advertising, so they ended the
Mm,
practice in 2003. So since
okay,
then, I guess Rogers and others have taken over, but that's kind of this history there a little bit in terms
very
of
cool.
sponsorship. So
Okay.
big shout out to the Canadian Open. It's just like now I'm more fascinated to go visit. I want to put it on my bucket list to go
Ah,
watch.
yes, yes.
Um, let's jump over to Cincy. I always wonder why Cincy just before US Open. It seems like lot of the best players go there. I could never fathom like what's going on there. It didn't feel like Cincy was the tennis hotbed of America, but somehow they attracted the best players and everyone showed up. Um, it is the oldest professional tennis tournament in the US, still played in its original city. Um,
Amazing. Okay.
because I believe that US Open moved around a few different venues in the New York area. Long Island, I think, was one of them. Anyway, just Brooklyn. Like they have moved at least a couple of places. So this has been since 1899 in Cincy, and even today, it's one of the top tournaments. I think outside of Miami, Indian Wells, US Open, this might
Yeah.
be the fourth most prestigious in the US. Similar to Canadian Open, both women and men play in July, August at this tournament at the same time. It's a 1,000 event, and it's unique among like non Grand Slam venues in the sense like it has got five permanent stadiums. Five.
Nice. Five. Wow.
It's so my guess is it's a massive area.
Yeah.
The center court is nothing shabby, too shabby. It can host about 11,500 fans, and
Nice.
other courts are anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 seats. So, but it seems like really set up for tennis. It's like seems like a tennis mecca. Um, this is one of the fascinating things, and we actually did a podcast or a slice on this of recycled tennis balls. It's the first venue that featured a court made of recycled tennis balls.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah, so that is really kicking it up
Is
a notch, and a
you know
shout out
this
to
is this a
yeah.
court that the pros play on?
I would think so. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
first major
Okay.
tournament that so it's actually made of recycled tennis balls. So it's a
That's really
hard
cool.
court,
Okay.
and it'll be fascinating to just go see the court, see how that looks like, and is any different than the other
Yeah.
courts.
That's
Yeah,
so one little add-on fun fact. I think it's this Cincinnati Open is actually held in the suburbs of Cincinnati. Maybe you're going to cover that, but it's a little city town called Mason, not Cincinnati, right? And I
yeah.
remember this for some reason because I worked at a company called Mason for a while, so it just stuck
you're,
in my head.
you're right. It is Mason. Again, like what's the one thing common between Cincinnati Open and Canadian Open, Ravi?
Um, so they're both part of the hardcourt swing. So and they're both like ATP and WTA 1000 level events, right? So they're both
Yeah.
Masters events. That's one I know. Is that it, or is there something more?
There's a third one.
Ooh.
Can you guess?
Wow, no, you had me there.
Yeah, it's again it this is one of those tournaments that was played on clay.
Oh
Um,
wow,
and it was referred to back then as crushed brick dust. Um,
crushed brick dust.
and
Sounds a lot less technical than
yeah,
today's surfaces, right?
yeah. So it's clay court tournament, just
Mm,
like the Canadian Open, and both of them transitioned to hard courts in the same year, 1979. So it
very
seems
cool.
like there was a wave when they switched all like these tournaments switched over to hard court. So it's some kind of like you know shifting in sort of like how the game was played. Um,
You know, I feel like we should do a deep dive on surfaces. I see a podcast brewing because if you think about like all the recent hard courts, like all these tournaments, they're like these companies called. There's two companies that make surfaces, hard court surfaces now. It's all like heavily technical. Because before that, what were the hard courts? Probably wood, which I know they ended in the 70s because it was too fast, and then probably concrete, right? So now
Yeah,
there's all sorts of like crazy material and engineering. So it probably explains why all of these old courts were clay. So yeah,
yeah,
another one.
yeah,
Very
for
interesting.
sure.
So many ex-clay
Yeah,
courts.
yeah. Um, hardcores are taken over. Uh, this one for the fans. If you're going to Cincy Open, you can enjoy luxury suites like in a lot of the bigger tournaments. There's a champagne bar and tons of food courts for the fans. So it's I think now people just come to expect if you're going to US Open, it's fascinating. It's amazing, and so this is like I think par for the course now. But what's really unique about Cincy Open is they hold one of the largest floral exhibitions at the same time. There are over
Floral
10,000
exhibitions.
plants showcased in the tournament. So that's one of those,
That
you
is
know,
very cool. Wait, is
it,
this like literally on site at the
it's
Cincy Open?
yeah,
Oh
it
my
is on site.
goodness.
So for those folks who love plants and flowers, this is one of those. You got to go.
I
You
mean,
can you can double dip here between tennis
I
and
have
the
a sneaky feeling this has something to do with someone finding a way to get people to bring the whole family in. Because
there
how
you
are
go.
you going to convince someone to bring their spouse to Cincinnati of all places? Sorry, Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's pretty
Flowers.
cool though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. They can also
Okay.
draw
Yeah.
some non-tennis fans over and have them part of the
Yeah.
experience, right? Which is I thought it's brilliant
If you are
from a marketing standpoint.
if you're a Flora and tennis fan, this place has no competition. That's
There you
amazing.
go. There you go. Here's what's most fascinating for me about this is they're going on a massive renovation project. And believe it or not, they're spending over $250 million and scheduled to be ready this year. And what they're doing is kind of will blow your mind. They're building a sunken stadium.
What?
Like I
Wait,
guess
like underground or something?
it's
Like, what
like
do you
I
mean
guess sunk
sunken?
into the ground so that you can just
Wow.
walk just walk on the surface and you can actually look down as opposed to
That's kind of cool.
climb up, right? So it's like, and then it's almost like a gladiator kind of a feel to it. Yeah, they're building one of the
That's
sunken stadium, which
crazy. Yeah.
and they're also building some indoor facilities. So go check out Cincy this year. It's going to also go on my list because I want to see the sunken stuff, sunken stadium.
I like your gladiator. I feel like the we need a new tennis surface of quicksand. So, fight to the finish.
It's
Yeah. So, oh my god,
I
that's
just thought
cool.
that it's fascinating that they're putting this twist to it, and I'm hoping that when you look at the game itself, it's going to be a different feel to it. Kind of pick up your ice cream. It's going to be super hot in August. Take your
That's
ice cream
true.
or a milk or your milkshake smoothie, and just walk over and just look down, and you have like two people battling it out.
Yeah, I wonder. I really do. Are they opening it this year? Do you know? Does it say?
They are opening this year. That's what's
Oh
announced. So,
my!
and it's going to be
I'm
pretty
gonna
cool.
research this because I have all this. It feels like I wonder what if they have a roof over this or something like. It's just
I, yeah, it's
I'm just so curious what the vibe of this is. I mean, how sunken is it? Is it like two
yeah, it's
feet,
got to
10
be
feet?
more than I've. Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how they've
Yeah, I'm so
designed it.
curious. That's really
I'm a big
neat.
architectural buff, so I'll be very interested to see how they designed and how the entry points are and how they create the vibe. Because you can imagine there could be noise coming from the top down into the players, and it'll
Mm,
be pretty cool. It'll
that's
be,
cool. And my
yeah.
dream is to build a 20-story stacked tennis center.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Maybe 10 of those are underground because, why not?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. As my daughter says, for real.
For real. For real, for real. For real.
Cool. All right, we're going to swing one of those into the another tennis venue.
I see
We're
what you
gonna
did
go
there.
over to Europe this time.
Okay.
Uh, this one is in Hamburg, uh,
Uh-huh.
the Hamburg European Open, and it started off in 1892 and is the oldest European tennis venue
Wow.
and the fifth oldest in the world. It's in a place called Am Rothenbaum. That's the actual location in Hamburg.
I see.
And interestingly, I mean, back when it started, it was a men-only event
Hmm.
until 2021 when they added the WTA event to it.
Mm.
There was, I think, a break in between when they probably got. I think women did start playing, but then they took a break. But now both men and women play here again, just like the other venues at the same time.
Very
So it
cool.
seems like there's a pattern here. Like all the biggest prestigious ones have women and men playing same time, or at least certainly the same tournament, which is awesome.
Hamburg is grass? Remind me?
It's actually clay.
It's a clay?
Um,
Okay, I
they stuck.
forget.
They started and stuck to it, which I
Okay,
love.
okay. Oh,
I
it's
love
part
them
of the
for that
clay
fact.
swing. Okay, okay.
It is, and
Hamburg. Mm.
it's actually a tournament that the the top players go to in preparation for Roland Garros,
Mm. Mm.
and so which is like this is like the big one that they go to. Of course, there's others like Madrid Open, Barcelona Open, I
Yeah,
guess,
Madrid, Barcelona. There's
and
a
there's
handful of
a
Estoril, yeah, a
Rome.
handful of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rome,
there's one in
yes, big one.
Rome, Monaco, but this is a big one. This is yeah, it's been held at the Rothenbaum Tennis Center in Hamburg since 1924. Yeah, this is again a fascinating one. I love the fact that it's clay court. I'm a big clay
Yeah.
court fan. Um, it's the largest tennis stadium in Germany, by the way.
Oh,
It is
wow.
Hamburg has that title. It was built. The current stadium was built in 1999 and seats about 30,000 spectators, but also has a retractable roof, which
Nice.
is I I know like I guess this is played sometime in May, but they do expect rain, I guess, at that point. Hence, they build the roof, which is yeah, strange. But Paris also has a roof now, so maybe
Yeah, I
they do
think
have some rain.
I always get to your point. I'm always puzzled by the European weather, but yeah, they do get all of them get rain like at the oddest times. Even like doesn't Roland Garros also like
Yeah, they
yeah.
do get some rain, so that's probably why the main stadium got the retractable roof.
It would be so cool if our local tennis center had a retractable roof for our summers here. That'd be those are
Yeah,
very expensive, I'm told. Yeah, to build.
yeah, they can probably and then all the risk and insurance and all that to
Yeah.
ensure that it's operating properly. Yeah, so Hamburg also made the list. I'm fascinated. Of course, we live on the west coast here in the U.S. It's really hard to get to these tournaments. But at some point in the future, when I can spend a little bit part of my summer in Europe, this will be on my list to go check out.
Indeed.
And so,
And get in line. It's first Scotland, that 15, whatever, 1539, 1541. Wow. I have to go check
yeah,
that one out first.
we could
The
almost make
Racquetball
like a
Squash Stadium.
itinerary of like must go
Oh,
venues
I love it. I love it.
for the tennis
Yes.
buffs, and that could be
Yes.
maybe a slice for a future podcast.
Yeah, that's right. So it's going to be our slice serve travel business.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. So the oldest tennis venue, starting off just in the oldest venue itself is the Falkland Palace Royal Tennis Club. Then you got three major tournaments: the Canadian Open, which happens in Montreal and Toronto; the Cincy Open. Actually, it's held in Mason, Ohio, and it's called the Lindner Family Tennis Center. They are the ones who are the major
Mm,
contributor to the tournament.
mm.
And then the Hamburg European Open, highly recommended. Check them out if you're anywhere close by. Um, it's pretty impressive. They've been operating for more than 120, 25 years, all three of them.
Nice. That's fantastic. Very cool. Good
All
stuff.
right. So
Learned.
that go ahead.
I was well. I'll wait till you wrap up because I have something for you once you wrapped up.
Yeah. So I was just fascinated the fact that they were still operating. They've survived multiple world wars, all the turbulent
Oh,
economic
that's
like
so true.
cycles,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just I appreciate them continue to support and commit to tennis over such a long horizon, and still operating. And they're still some of the best tournaments in the world. I mean, Hamburg is just a big tournament before the French Open. You have this the Canadian Open and the Cincy Open. Both of them are massive before the US Open. I mean, it's almost right next to US Open. They're like huge, and attended by the best stars. So they're really right there, top notch, even after 125 years. So really big kudos to the cities as well as the tournament for being still around and supporting tennis. Love
yeah.
it.
100%. I feel like I've always sort of thought of for my own personal like visits. The Indian Wells keeps popping up, but I never give Cincinnati much thought. But now that you've called out the florists and the sunken stadium and it being the oldest one, oh man! All right, step
And
aside, Larry Ellison.
there you go. And a huge, I just want to huge shout out to Toronto and Montreal. Montreal's got great vibe. Toronto has amazing food. Always recommend those two cities anytime though. And then summer, best time to go there. Um,
Right, and hey, pretty soon, I think if we purchase Canada, I think uh, it's going to become part of the states or something. I heard.
all right.
All right,
So
that's fantastic.
that wraps up sort of the my part of the oldest tennis venues slice.
Well, that's super, Raghu. I really learned lots here. Seems Clay has a more of a history than I realized. So good stuff. I had something for you.
All
Um,
right, shoot.
well, what is the oldest tennis venue that you know of in our backyard in Seattle, in this area? Do you know?
Oh wow. Okay. Um, I think
If you had to take
last
a guess,
year
yeah.
I played at a place called the Seattle Tennis Club, which runs the Washington Open. Um, it's beautiful, right next to Lake Washington. I plan to go watch the tournament sometime there. I think believe it happens in summer sometime. But that's what I would guess is the oldest venue because that's the only one that I know that operates like a major tournament here.
Yeah, good job. I believe it is a very strong contender. I don't know if there's like conclusive evidence, but I think it was established in 1890, apparently.
Wow.
So, yep, it's the Seattle Tennis Club. Exactly like you mentioned, their own website. I think they talk through like how they survived through the World Wars and the Great Depression and all that. So, they also have this. They still have this rule where you gotta wear all white when you play there. And out of sheer curiosity and a complete lack of talent, I participated in the Open tournament last year just to see what it's like to go participate in a tournament. It was
Yeah.
quite cool. You go check in, they give you a lanyard, and there's like people announcing the draws. And of course, I lost
Oh,
terrible. Actually, I retired with an injury, so I could have still come back, but it was. And also, that's when I had to borrow your pure white shorts, Raghu, which I realized I have not returned.
okay. There you go.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so good job, you got it. So it's cool that 1890. So we have something in our
Wow.
backyard that has historic significance. So
Love it. Love it.
yeah, this is
For
this
those
is this is great.
playing tennis who play tennis in Seattle area, go check out and go enroll in the tournament and get the
Yes.
whole experience.
Oh, I wanted to highlight the thing you called out. It is lakeside and it's gorgeous. Like the if you go in summer, it's just a beautiful venue. So
I
yeah,
believe you
you
can see
just
Mount
as
Rainier from
long
there on a clear day.
yeah, quite possible. I don't know directionally which way it looks, but that's true. And yeah, I think all you need is to be very old and very wealthy to get into that club. So
I believe it's not as easy to get into the club. So I talked to one of the
no.
guys. I played a USTA like a tennis match or league that I'm part of with them, and then I was talking to the guy there who and he was gracious enough to kind of like welcome us and play, and we can hang out in their after the match, and he was saying that basically, like, I think he married someone whose dad was a member. That's how he got in. And I asked him, like, "Hey, man, how do I get in?" He said that someone has to die,
Yeah,
and that's how the next in line can get in. So that's how it is. And so it's a
yeah,
plug
yeah,
if you're trying to get in. So it's basically, unless
yeah.
you marry into the family, as one
Marry into
says.
it, or maybe someday when you launch your startup or your startup goes big, yeah, you can then kind of pull that card. But until then, we'll just yeah, research it, and you can join the tournament. That's the way to go in. So uh,
That's pretty
cool.
cool.
Maybe you and I
All
should
right.
play doubles in there one day, Raghu.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Maybe
Yes,
we should
yes,
make
they
that
do
up.
it. What I like, they have all the categories: over 40, over 50, over 60, over 70. So we can keep participating.
Cool. This
Sweet.
was fun. It's great to come back and do this episode, or slice as we call it. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this fun episode on Oldest Bennies.
That's right. And yes, we hope to bump into you all when we do our little tour of all these sites someday. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Until next slice. See you all.